and GMES. So if you're leaving the elevator, it'd basically be converting some of those stairs to ADA ramps. So on the left-hand side, you kind of have the bird's eye view of what that would look like. And then on the right-hand side, you have just a rendering of what they would look like if you were standing in between and estimated cost will be $40,000. Could be more than that. As we know, things typically are more expensive than what we plan this to be, especially right now. This would not require any type of approval. What that would do is we would just go through the normal budget process on this, put it in next year's budget, get the architectural drawings for it, the engineering, and then have construction. As far as the timing of the construction, we don't know yet. We kind of want to avoid doing it now in dining season, especially because many of the restaurants already have a hard time. This could be longer problems. I think we kind of look at it. The scope isn't that big, but it's a tight area, and getting equipment in there to do the work could be a little bit lengthier than it appears. So at this time, we'll take comments if there's support, not support, but we do think that based off of previous conversations, that council will be in favor of moving forward with ADA.
But Alderman Woodward.
Obviously, in support of making things more accessible via ADA. When would be the right window to do this?
So ideally, we would want to do it before the outdoor dining season next year. I don't know if that's possible. So I think we'd actually be aiming for after the outdoor dining season would actually be like a year from now. I mean, we'll talk to the businesses, and once we get into the engineering, we'll say, okay, this can be accomplished in 2 weeks. This will be the scope of work and the impact, and if it's minimal and the businesses are okay with it and the staff is okay with it, of course, then we move forward with it earlier.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a better look than obviously the ramp that's there now. That's not a long-term ramp, so definitely in support of this, yeah.
Other comments?
But in the meantime, we can keep that ramp that exists there today until we do this. Okay.
We own that ramp, so it starts.
Other comments? I have one, with consideration, was there flexibility between one ramp and two, especially with it being a tight space? If it's really flexible between one ramp and two, just when it comes to a vote, I'd like to see options for both of them. I would lean towards less is more. I mean, if it's functional, and we don't have to build it, and it just seems like it'd get in the way less, and if we can always save a little bit of money.
I know that did come up as I talked to council members and kind of spoke a little bit, but I don't see an issue with at least getting a quote for either one of them and revisiting that.
Okay. And if one makes less sense, as it comes to be just rationale for that, so we can make sure that. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item A, which is winter 2023 outdoor dining plans for GMES. That will be for this upcoming winter. That for dining period actually starts November 1st, goes to April 14th. What GMES is proposing is the same configuration that we put out last year, 425 square feet. Left-hand side is the bird's eye view of where the outdoor dining would be, and then on the right-hand side is a photo of the tent that they used last year, but they might use one in this. We'll move on to item B, which is the winter outdoor dining plan for again, this is the same configuration that they used last year. The square footage is 12,000 square feet. This would be for the 4 flows that they have purchased and put out there in recent years. The staff is supportive of putting these flows here. We do think that they would add character to the downtown, be beneficial to additional sales tax, as well as the community that like. This would just be for the winter. This would not be for the summer. And there was a positive drop during your
Okay, why don't you approach before we take comments from the. Welcome, Ken.
Ken Hunter, Small Brewing. I'm not sure there's much more to add. The third season of St. Charles, as you see up there, aesthetic is pleasing. And I guess the only other note that I would make is we've actually had easily over 100 inquiries when we're coming back. Some Facebook chatter as well. So we're excited to bring it back to the community and have it back. Happy to answer.
Excellent. So questions, comments?
I just just like to make a comment. I've gotten a bunch of questions from people I know already asking if we're going to have these. I know that this is something that builds character in the city, and I very much like having them in St. Charles. They're a thing people think of when they say, ooh, we're going to go to St. Charles and see those great globes. So I'm very supportive of these.
Other comments?
Yeah, let's say in the future the plaza does secure something there during those winter months early on. Is there another space in the future where those globes could possibly fit and go, and where are you envisioning that space could possibly be?
So, use of our building, on the lease patio space, which we currently have that 30 by 30 glass enclosure positions. This is going to be kind of the final test year for that enclosure. We're under lease, we have a 3-year lease on it, last year of that. If we weren't going to be able to put them on the north side of the property, moving forward, when the winter season 24 to 25, we would probably explore putting them on that lease patio.
I just have a comment, not necessarily a question, but I love the globes. I think they're great. I love the fact that they bring a vibrant scene down there. I agree that they do belong at the east side of the building. We're just finishing up a public plaza with private donations for the public to benefit from, and they're not really going to benefit from this unless they pay to sit in there. So I'm looking to do, once it's completed, like the Kris Kringle Market, holiday festivities, maybe a small ice skating rink for kids or families. So I'm trying to keep that front space open so it maximizes the benefit for the people in the community, because the whole purpose of the First Street Plaza, especially the egg in the front there, was a community gathering space. That's what it says on the website, you know, and that's why a lot of people made donations. So for me, I'm not going to support the globes at this location. I'm totally fine with it on the east side of the building, but that's my rationale for it.
Other comments? Or motion? Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm just, how many, like, it's constantly sold out for you, is it not?
Particularly on the weekends, but yeah, they're occupied.
They're very popular.
And that's not their purpose.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Hold on.
Real quick, point of order, what are we voting on, A, B, what?
So how about this? Okay, we are voting right now on A because we have to take these as two separate. So looking for a motion on, that's actually
Paul,
great.
can I ask one more question on A? I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
With what GME is using, Eric, that outdoor, is that considered their space, or is that part of city space?
That is.
That's it, thank you.
Okay, so we're voting on a recommendation to approve winter 2023 outdoor dining plan for GME. Is that the motion you intend to
Yes.
make? Second. And I've got a motion and a second. Could I get a roll call? Moved by Munn, second by Bonker.
Petrilla,
Yes.
Warbaugh,
Yes.
Bessner,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Sokaitis,
Yes.
Foltz,
Yes.
Bongard,
Yes.
Munn,
Yes.
Gem.
Yes. Excellent, thank you. That motion passes. So is there any more discussion on B? So I'm
I'd
looking
like to
for-
make a motion to approve
Moved
B.
by Munn,
Second.
second by Gann. Would you call the roll, please?
Petrilla,
No.
Warbaugh,
No.
Bessner,
Yes.
Weber,
No.
Sokaitis,
No.
Foltz,
Yes.
Bongard,
Yes.
Munn,
Yes.
Gem.
Yes.
So that passes, 4-5. Motion carries. Thank you very much. So now we are at C through E. Derek, take it away.
We'll start out with Steve, who is someone from before our dining layout, the layout for the all-five restaurants. The summer outdoor dining usually starts at April 14th and goes to October 3rd. This again will be 2 100-day permits, as we've done in the past. I know that there's been some discussion on this, because we have tax exempt bonds that we're necessary, and we haven't quite dodged their hands on that. So we would like to move forward with the two buildings today first. And additionally, on top of that, perhaps doing a multi-year outdoor dining layout. Staff's recommendation is to not move forward with that at this time. We're making a lot of changes here this year with the expanded plaza, and we really want to have kind of a test year before we entertain anything like that. That being said, just looking at what the outdoor dining plan is, I think that the layout that I have up here, the sketch is pretty self-explanatory. I will kind of briefly go through each of the restaurants, starting with Colder Brewing. In the past, they were along the north end of the building, and as you can see here in the blue, they'd be flipping over to west of their location along First Street. Similar functions that was previously in the existing plaza. They won't be in the existing plaza at all. They'll be along First Street there in orange. So you kind of alter and lanes that facing each other, which kind of creates this seamless little piazza where people walk down the middle of it and just pretty much going across. For Top, they previously had occupied some of the areas of the existing plaza. They'll be pushed back towards closer to their location, but then also utilize some of the space along First Street as well. And I should note that they have utilized some of the space on First Street for the past, but that are permanent sidewalks. Again, this kind of opens up those two circles that are in the accounting is fairly simple. They're spending what they were this past year. There's a little bit more room there. They're not on other places. However, it's pretty simple that rectangular purple. And then lastly is GMBM. This one is something that is a little bit different from what we kind of explored outdoor dining this year. Looking to the next slide. So starting out with what was proposed this past, or what was utilized this past year and the year before, GMB on the right-hand side sketch, that they are the pink there, and you can see that they go about halfway into that circle right there. What is being proposed is to actually pull that actual tiny space closer to their building, but open up more space in that circle. This would be a lot of about 700 square feet, and they would lose an estimated 24 people feet, meaning that they couldn't reach some of their needs. I have spoken to GME about this. They're actually okay with that. They understand the rationale that the city is undertaking here, which is kind of people. Number one, talking to the council members. There's been a lot of push to have those two circles kind of open that up so that they can be utilized for more public use. And then the other one was an idea that came out after we talked about this in July, which is creating a new access point for the wall. So we have this barrier wall that's on the left end of the existing plaza, which I have a photo there on the right side. The idea would be to remove one of those columns right in the middle and create a new opening. If you were to walk right through there, you would kind of be at a little ramp that's over the road there for the bank, and there's kind of a natural drop-off. We did talk to our architect to help with the ADA ramp to create kind of a rendering of what this would look like, which is on the right-hand side there. I should note that we're not proposing that pergola to put in right there. The architect included that. That's something that we could, of course, look at further down the road. But what we do like about this, and I'm going to go back to the other slide, the proposed 2024 sketch on the bottom right-hand corner, you see the green line going there. That creates this continuous independent point from First Street all the way through the existing plaza. If that barrier wall is there, people would have to make this awkward right-hand turn around and again, this is one of the really the only change that we've had since we discussed this back in July. But again, we know about this and supported of the city. I should note also during making a request, previously they've used the north end of the building as well as this little tiny triangular space that I've highlighted in green. That is not currently in our resolution that we have passed. However, speaking with Walter over the past week, it is something that we would like the council to consider. If this, if someone wanted to use this board with that green dealership, that would have to, amend, the ordinance that staff, really putting it as a visual, for it to come up with that ordinance. Just some of the numbers as far as square footage. So on the right-hand side there, the chart got the restaurants and how much square footage they utilized in 2022 and 2024, and then the total amount. So you see in 2022, the total square footage that was utilized for outdoor dining was about 7,700. In 2024, the estimate is close to 7,500. So we actually have a little bit more outdoor dining, which is about 250 square feet. In the grand scheme of things, that's not very much, in my opinion. I do have the 2022 maps and 2024 maps right next to each other. You can see that in 2022, all outdoor dining was really crammed in together in that existing plaza. But now, with the new plaza expansion, you see a lot more open space. I'll take you to my next slide. This is from our GIS maps that I pulled up. So the existing plaza space, not counting the new construction, the total square footage was about 17,000. With our outdoor dining, in 2022, it was about 42% of that space is used for outdoor dining. Looking at the expanded plaza, now that it's nearly completed, the total square footage is 45,000 square feet, which makes our outdoor dining about 16.5 of the total. So essentially, we've kept the level of outdoor dining pretty constant, yet we've kind of expanded our plaza near 2.5 times. So there's just a lot more public space out there. So the percentage of outdoor dining. And with that, I can take any questions. Just for the
All the present.
Thank you. So this goes back to what the intent of these plazas were. What that was for a public, anybody could go out, grab something to eat somewhere, and come downtown and eat at the, I'll call it the West Plaza. Right now, there's no way for anybody to do that, is there? There's no tables out there for anybody to just sit down.
In the West Plaza,
right,
north of Alter,
right.
Right now.
Okay, see, that bothers me. That was not the original intent of that plaza. That's for public could come down there on a nice day, a group of people could come down there and they could just eat lunch, do whatever they want to do, walk around the plaza. You can't do that now. And now you're saying that with the new plaza, we're going to lose 16% of it already, and it's not even opened yet. Well, yeah, because it says 16% is going to be, 16.5 is going to be dining, right, on public property again. My point is, where does it stop? It's more like now this is it's a public plaza, but for private use only.
Well, I think, over 80% of it is for public use, and the public can't use the outdoor.
Well, wait, but the public cannot sit down. Someone cannot sit in one of their chairs and bring their own food, correct?
Well, there are plenty of things that are in the new
on the west side? On the west side?
On the west side.
Right. Now we're encroaching on the plaza, on the new plaza, isn't even open yet, and we're already going to take 16.5% of it for dining. It's not the intent, at least from what we set it up years ago, that was not the intent of all this. This is supposed to open space. And I think we're losing that vision of what we had, in my opinion. We're not, more outdoor dining and less public space, but yes, public property. Thank you.
Yeah, I like Exhibit A the way you have it. I think it's balanced. I think it's going to be an exciting experience for people to come down there. So I like the way it's laid out. Ron makes some excellent points. I think we need to take a measured approach and make sure that we're aware that this is for the public, that this plaza was built with private donations. So nobody should have to worry about, well, can I go there and sit down, but do I have enough money to sit down with a family of four? We talk about equity and inclusion in our community. but are we being equitable, inclusive if we're not providing space for people to sit down and enjoy the same environment? So I'm okay with option A. I'm not okay with expanding with a little bit over here and a little piece over there, because it will never end, and I think this elected body needs to control that situation and not the businesses, because it'll get out of hand real quick. So I like option A. Outdoor dining's fantastic. It's a great experience for everyone, but that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I'd like to also say I like option A, and I don't know if a representative for GME is here, but I appreciate their willingness to work with us on that middle way, so we have a clear entryway in. I know that probably wasn't an easy compromise for there. Personally, with option A, I'm excited to see where the outdoor dining kind of leads. I know that's a big draw to the city. I know it's a big draw to our local businesses. I think this can be a big help for our small businesses, not just in that area, but in other areas of the city too. So, but I'm agreeing with Brian there. Option A is our best option, in my opinion, to go with.
I'm all for option A. I can't wait to, look down First Street when this is all done and just kind of see all the tables set up and the people, sitting outside and utilizing it. I'm excited about it. I like option A.
More comments, or? Okay, Alderperson Monk?
So I'm fairly new to some of the plans here, and I did see them prior to being elected, but I want to be sure I fully understand to the questions about what is public and what is private as far as seating. I'm pretty sure I recall that there is public seating that includes tables, like picnic-type tables or something like that. Can you walk me through a little bit of that?
There has been in that.
Okay.
I don't know if that's been determined.
But they were in the plans at some point.
I'm sure that we could put them out there.
Okay. But definitely benches, definitely places for the public to sit, definitely space, about 80% or so, 84% of public space. Okay. Yeah, and I would agree with Alderman Folks that there's a great deal of benefit for the outdoor dining for all the businesses, not just in the First Street area, but everywhere. So I agree with option A is going to be wonderful. Like Alderman Weber said, looking down that First Street's going to be wonderful.
I have a comment about this, because I think that in our discussions about, public and private spaces is, first of all, like these businesses, I've always thought, I thought what we were doing was too dense before. I love the idea of opening up, so there's thoroughfare. I like that we're opening more space. However, we also have to realize, because I know at first, because of the use of TIF funds, we were very nervous as a city about, using this, at all for anything that was private. But I think that through COVID, we learned that this is a great use, that our residents want to have the ability to sit down and enjoy a meal outside. And the thing is, these are the restaurants that they would be going to. Somebody's not going to, go to McDonald's and bring their Happy Meal down here. But there still is space. And to say that these businesses that are open to the public, don't have a public component to them, I think is missing something, because these businesses, and it's the businesses and, things like schools, but these destinations create traffic, and we have to have a lively downtown. I think that this is a great boon, and I think that we cut too fine a point, on a designation. Well, this is private. You can't come if you're not invited. These businesses are open to the public. You can sit there and, get bread. I mean, to say that you have to, like it's something untoward, and it's a pay-for-play situation, that's an unreasonable position. I do think it's reasonable to say, hey, we need to leave enough of this space flexible so we can use them for, our celebrations and things like that. But to treat, businesses who are providing a great service to our community that our community loves, and saying that is a private use completely, I think is also a misunderstanding of the situation.
Well, I don't know if anyone's really saying that yet. I think, like, to Ron's point here, it's like if I get a sandwich from Smitty's and I want to go sit down at the plaza and have a place to eat, I want to have a place to eat. I think that's kind of the mindset behind it, and that's where I think Jamie's asking about the benches too. Just, hey, is there going to be something that that just can be there if for some reason somebody doesn't want to go to those locals, but they just want to grab a quick bite to eat, but they want to go sit down there and enjoy the view, just those spaces available too. I think that's kind of, you know, for those other businesses as well.
Alderperson Bogart.
So that's a fair point, but is that actually happening? Because prior to this construction, I have a hard time believing that we would have gone to making these changes and this type of investment if there was a fear that suddenly we were going to disrupt all that type of activity that was going on. I think the idea of making this change was talking about the investment and what it would do for your downtown footprint. I don't remember hearing that there was that much traffic of people picking up a sandwich from Smitty's. There wasn't 5,000 people going down there and filling the streets. So while it's easy to say, hey, we have to make sure that we have this balance, and I don't think anybody's disagreeing with it, I think we have to be careful that we're not painting a picture that isn't completely accurate of what that space was truly being utilized before. You didn't have, you know, thousands of people pouring down there eating ice cream cones before that plaza was done. You do have tons of people down there now because of the investment that the private sector is making down there. So, be careful. Yes, we have to strike a balance. I don't think anybody's saying against that, but let's be careful that we're not painting a picture of what we think was going on before versus what's actually happening now.
To counter Alderman Bongart's point of the private investment, there was almost $2 million of private donations put into that plaza. Almost $4 million of taxpayer dollars put in that donation. So that plaza belongs to the public, and the private is leasing it for their benefit and also for the public's benefit. It's a collaboration and it's a balance. So I just want to make that clear. If somebody wants to grab a sandwich and sit at a table, they have every right to go down there and do that. So,
I don't think anybody...
So that, hang on, I got the floor. Hang on. So when this was advertised on the website, our website, it said that we're developing a concept for community gathering on the site. This site can be used for open seasonal markets, public seating, dining, holiday displays, and events. That's what was sold to the people that made donations. Some made $50,000 donation, $250,000 donation. I had neighbors that donated thousands of dollars. They have expectations, so I don't want to forget that, because when we start saying, well, private businesses made the investment, they didn't put $6 million into that plaza. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. Now, I'm all for them having outdoor dining. I think it's a great experience for everybody. But I also want to make sure that we have tables out there, not just benches, but tables. You know, so a family can sit down and have their lunch there and enjoy the same environment. I think that's being equitable and inclusive with everyone in our community. So that's my point.
Paul? I just want to jump in. Some of the tables that were put out there originally, they weren't the nicest tables. They were kind of round and haphazard, a little bobbliness to them. But a lot of that was done originally because of COVID, because people had to. There was no really big choices. I think it was even in the early stages of before a lot of the outdoor dining actually sank in. There are going to be a huge number of benches there, as you can see. For those of you that have been going by there, they swirl through the whole entire plaza. Tables, I'm not sure there should or shouldn't be tables there. Well, I'm not saying they should or shouldn't be there. What I am saying right now is I don't know if it's feasible as part of the plan has evolved. We can possibly look at it once we get, you know, off to a running start, get the project dedicated and ready to go. But right now, going back to Alderman Councilperson Bongart's quote as well, is, you know, those tables were out there, but they were out there for the purpose of being outside, because a lot of people at the time had to be outside. They couldn't be inside. So we are going to have plenty of benches, plenty of seating area. We'll have to figure out if we need more, I guess, down the road. Oh, and one other thing, I'm sorry. Do you want to talk about, or does Ken want to talk about that little corner piece of property? Because...
Hang on, before, I'd like to invite you up. Hang on, I have one more comment, and then we'll wait for you, and right after all the...
And here's, to Ed's point, we may consider it. Okay, I want to see something in writing, and an ordinance says we will provide tables, an X amount of tables or chairs. We're speculating, but that doesn't do anything, at least for me. we say something, but if it's not in the ordinance, we probably won't do it. So
Well,
unless something is in there.
that's not a fair statement, though. That's,
Pardon?
you're acting like we always do this and pretend we're gonna put something in and not put it in, so that's not a fair
Okay,
statement.
that's for further discussion. Ken, would you like to?
Well, I'm sorry.
want to make-
I wasn't already done yet, Paul, but thank you. I mean, he was countering my argument.
You know what,
So,
we can continue after we've invited,
no, wait,
Ken to speak.
I'm sorry, we're in the middle of a conversation here. Why are
And we
you
will
interrupting me?
continue right after this.
No,
You're out of order.
What? I'm sorry.
I'm the chair. I'm letting you know right now you're out of order. I actually asked.
Yes, I know, and I'm in the middle of a conversation about the previous subject. You can't tell me
Yes,
I'm out
but
of
no,
order.
I can. I'm the chair of this meeting.
We'll take that up, State's Attorney.
This is the master, so I won't take long here. As Derek said, I think it's 250 square feet. It's what I would consider a unusable order, especially for things that we're talking about. There's no conflict of benches or seating. Really wouldn't program anything there along the lines of, what we were talking about. So, pick up a little extra space, a few extra seats, busing area that we can use on it. And then the other comment I'll make, and I'm sure this map is here, but, from the city's point of view, by my calculation, each seat in public dining annually equates to about $200 in additional incremental tax. So, just for perspective.
Thank you. Alderperson Silkett, you may have your time back. I was just trying to.
No, it's gone now. The subject has changed, so I'm done.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Exhibit A for approval tonight.
Second.
I have a motion from Alderperson Wirball, a second from Alderperson Petrella. Can I call the roll? And we are voting on C, recommendation to approve summer.
No, Exhibit A,
Exhibit A. Are we?
C, yes, that's
But this
correct.
is still Exhibit A.
Yes.
With the recommendation. We're not talking about D or E yet.
No,
This is
correct.
Exhibit A.
That's correct.
Connected with the approval of 2024 outdoor dining plan for First Street.
And does that mean that we are not?
Petrilla.
Hang on a second. Hang on 1 second. Hold on this roll.
1 second.
There's a point of order.
Does that mean we're not consistent with the triangle?
No, we're currently not considering the triangle. A was proposed without the triangle. That's the motion on the floor.
You could make a motion if you want, Jamie.
No, we have a motion and a second on the floor.
David?
So we're going to vote on what's been in front of us. Please call the roll now.
Petrilla.
Yes.
Wirball.
Yes.
Bestner.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Silkaitis.
No.
Folks.
Yes.
Bongard.
Yes.
Munn.
Yes.
Gem.
Yes.
That motion passes. Thank you. So, do we have, we've had presentation for everything? No, we need presentation for item D and E, so the floor is yours. Thank you.
Item D is ordinance modification. Discussed outdoor dining, in July of this year. One of the things that came up was just kind of upping our design standards. So taking that because of ordinance to make some modifications. The goal is to kind of create more of a aesthetic throughout the plaza, but still allowing the individual businesses to kind of have a unique atmosphere. We don't want to tell them all, or we don't have this exact table. We want that creative with the restaurant. So, that being said, we did kind of look at 3 different things, and I think the most important here is the fencing. So this is just a little snippet of what the ordinance says, but we're looking for blocking color, historical, whether it's suitable for other use, whether items, things in there about height, things like that. Really, a lot of the businesses already use a fence that's pretty consistent. I have a photo here of Vietnamese fence with along Main that already has a similar fence. The one that was different was with Nally's. They used the pole and the chain hook across and already told them that would not fit this ordinance if it was passed. They were fine with it. So fencing, I think, is the most important. We want to divide that space clearly between public and private space. The other 2 items that we did put some language in here, just making sure that everything was consistent with the theme and design with umbrellas. With that, I don't have either comments on items.
Discussion? Alderperson Bestner?
Derek, when you talk about umbrellas, I read in our
meeting notes in regards to tones and all that. Can you just give a little bit more detail? I mean, I am in the business, and we've got vendors that give out all kinds of different umbrellas from every branded logo type of tequila, beer, wine, et cetera. So I'm not trying to be stringent on the business owners. I'm just trying to see where this is going.
I think, you know, I wrote that part of it. I think what we described would be allowable.
Mm-hmm.
Just we wanted to be consistent, really how they're doing. Like if they're the same umbrella, but if they're both one, that's essentially the same umbrella to me.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't want is one that's 6 foot tall, and one that's 10 foot tall, completely different style of construction.
Okay, thank you.
Move for approval.
Second. Moved by Wirball, second by Petrella. Please call the roll.
Petrella.
Yes.
Wirball.
Yes.
Festner.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Kulkaitis.
Yes.
Folks.
Yes.
Bonegard.
Yes.
Munn.
Yes.
Gem.
Yes.
That motion passes. Thank you. Go ahead, Derek.
So just keep in mind, first of all, that when we constructed these permit fees, we do them in 100-day permitting periods. So not a whole year, not the whole summer, but 100-day permitting period. Remember that there are 2 periods per summer session. So the current permitting fee is $50 a square foot per 100 days. So if you were to equate that to the full summer, 2 100-day periods, it's $1 per foot. What we are proposing is actually a switch. So we are creating the fee basis of square footage now, but we would like to move it to a per seat basis. The reason for this is really simple. We think that per seat is more accurate to the existing restaurants. That's because of the new expanded plaza. A lot of the curves are curvy linear, so it kind of hurts the functionality of the stage. You have curves and be efficient with the table placement. And then also we do have some of the restaurants that in their outdoor dining space would have a lot of holes. So people are going to like 3 of those ring-like holes and then 2 like holes in the middle of it, as well as one. So we just think that that's not quite fair and kind of creates this issue. And then also, as we get into the discussion about public and private spaces and what the charge would be, we think it is actually easier for people to understand the per seat basis. Not everyone really understands the square footage and how that works. We're going on to the proposed permitting that we would like to change it to. It would be $20 per seat for 1 permitting period, so 4 per seat. We also included a twice for the summer session. Trying to just explain what the impact of this what our city collected was what we would be estimated that does not include the city application fees with the just I know this can kind of be difficult to understand. I don't lose too many people on it, but obviously this would be more than one permit fee would be. Another way to look at that, we want to look at it the same way that we issuing fees. If we're in previous years, this new proposal that's submitted and then also, and this is really where we cost per square foot for the whole. So if you do tackle in the real estate, you have probably know that when you're leasing, but it will always say per square foot. First Street, the rents are highest than anywhere else. On average, they pay $35. So what I did is I converted what our estimated charge would be for a full year, not the 100 days, but if it was for a full year. you're dabble in real estate, maybe you can understand that, rent of a building, and that's where we do it. But as an alternative option, I just took these down here just in case it's not, either higher or lower cost per seat, dollars, and then per book, and then $20. We'll go through those unless someone, can't do that one. And then just one quick note before comment, this came up, when I was everyone has the right to audit. So we do go out there and determine that a restaurant put out 3 tables and and didn't tell us, we could go out there and do an audit. There would be a $50 penalty. Like those chairs, then again, they would like, they would have to. Any questions?
Alderperson Fox.
In these areas that you're counting seats, will there be standing tables?
There could potentially be standing tables, what that would do, like how many chairs would go around.
Okay, so those still could be counted in?
Yes, those would still be.
Okay.
Alderperson Moss.
I want to know what kind of flexibility there is regarding the seat counting. So let's say that GMEA has a big party that comes in and they have to do a big rearrangement, and that equates to them having to throw out like a couple extra seats, and that's the day that you do a seat count. Is there some penalty for doing something like that, or there's a day where they have to bring out an extra seat to make up a 5-top out of a 4-top? Are we going to be flexible in situations like this when there are these one-off situations? Because that's very common in a restaurant, and I don't want to see us being punitive when it's not necessary.
Yeah, we're if someone pulls out a 4-top, or we're not.
Okay.
Really, it's a
Okay.
Alderperson Bogart.
So I know that the previous conversation talks about making sure that they're striking a balance, which I think everybody wants to maintain. So this is the first time that we're looking at doing this and getting the pricing right. Are all the seats, and I know we haven't seen exactly what everything is, but are all the seats created equal? So if I'm having dinner at restaurant A, is it comparable to B and C? Like, maybe staff hasn't looked at it from this perspective, but it's a very valid point about making sure that for public space, we understand it's being leased, but making sure that we're striking a good balance. I'm just curious if, maybe not this cycle, but the next cycle, you look at what we're charging per seat, because I'm going to go out on a limb and assume not all seats are created equal. And if I'm a restaurant owner down in that space, if you've got more premium seating, how you manage that, and it's probably too much of an ask this first time that we go through it, but that would be something I'd be very curious to know as we're trying to strike this balance and making sure that it works for all.
Yeah, I understand, but we'd love to have that data, and you're probably right, not all students are equal. There's people that are on First Street have that, that atmosphere, or maybe the problems that you can get a view of the river. But we don't really know that yet. I do think that is very interested in moving that atmosphere and what sales tax is generated, and if we can somehow attribute that to outdoor.
Well, and I think that depending on, the money that comes out of these fees and what you're charging for seats, and as you start, the market's going to tell you ultimately how many seats do you have this season versus, the last, and what's the frequency of people going down there. But being able to take money that gets generated from this and putting it back into the plaza, putting it back into outdoor seating, putting it back into that public space, and being able to find a way, and just knowing, if I've got, 6 seats that are kind of crammed in a corner, and then something's lining the river, something to look at down the line.
Okay, Alderperson Weber.
So I just want to point out a couple of things. It seems like we probably just approved another $60K of spending in the plaza between the ADA ramp as well as removing part of the wall. we're probably going to be, you know, passing or potentially passing, you know, a tax increase for another $500K. It's someone that deals with real estate myself. The value of this ground, I think, is worth a little bit more than $4 a square foot. I mean, a ground lease, I think, is probably going for about $4, but then you still got to build on top of it, and you still got to pay the taxes and the maintenance. So I would like to see the fee, you know, a little bit more realistic, in tune with the market. I just want everyone to have to, you know, pay what the market rate is. That's all.
And to make a comment, I appreciate you saying that. The number one concern that I have is whatever, and I don't have the expertise, so I was going to ask you. In fact, I'd like to give you the opportunity to speak to that, because the number one thing that we need to do is, you know, we were giving discounted rents and leases because of COVID. But if we're going to say that, you know, this is part of a long-term plan, it has to be market. So can you please, you know, explain your rationale in determining that that was a market number?
Yeah, I think that's what defined that market rate. And what I did is I did go out and ask some real estate professionals or brokers, both local and non-local, and said, you know, if there was a restaurant that had a patio, what would that per square foot of the patio be? And honestly, they told me that, you know, that's almost like a home. They don't include that in their calculation. It's in there somewhere, but there's no line item in it. So this was kind of what I came up with, is kind of looking at the percentage of what those restaurants would contain on a square foot basis for the interior of the space. So, you know, I think that's what we would like to do, is we would like to look at that next year, see how well the business is performing, see if we can distribute that to however many, and then we raise it more if we see that they're more successful.
Yeah, that was actually my question, is does this give us the opportunity to try this year at this rate, knowing that they have had a bit of pain between the economy and the construction, you know, allowing them to recuperate at this rate, and then see what happens with the boom that we're expecting to see, with what will happen with people, the foot traffic down in First Street, with all of the new business that they're going to see, and then evaluate it next year, maybe come up with a new model or raise that fee. And they would have full expectation that this is not going to be exactly what they're going to see next year.
I think fine, that's all the rest.
Okay.
There's going to be tweaks, there could be tweaks in the layout, there could be tweaks in the burden fee.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm just going to throw this out there. So there's two 100-day periods. Could we start off with the first 100 days with the $20 cost per seat, see how it goes? If it's very, very successful and it makes sense to maybe revisit the fee, perhaps we look at it before we approve the second one, or if we see it's not going as well as we thought, maybe we leave it the way it is. I'm just trying to think outside the box as kind of a compromise.
But I have one real quick. In fact, I want to ask you all the person, whoever, you know, with your experience, because it's actually kind of funny being also the city and also the lessor on this. You know, we did the construction, and a lot of times you'd have a tenant that would get a break, you know, if there was an impairment for a period of time. Does that seem reasonable to you? I'm asking for your judgment because I want to make sure that we get a market rate. You know, and what you brought up first was
well, I mean,
very
you know,
interesting to me.
we have a lot of real estate people in here right now, but I mean, as far as like, you know, grade A restaurant space inside, you know, depending on the town, that market rate is probably what, $35 to $55 a square foot range? You don't have to answer. I'm just talking based on what I know. I would see that what I think would be a reasonable number is probably $12 to $15 a square foot.
Yeah, because that's the part, and, you know, I mean, even taking a look at my experience in, you know, doing tax appeals and taking a look at how that's broken down, the outdoor space is not valued like indoor improved space, but I'm interested in making sure that we have, you know, a market rate. But I also think that we have some time because we're dealing with, you know, 100-day leases, actually, unfortunately, because my greatest hope was that long-term we could, you know, with the idea of having, you know, defining outdoor dining policy is to have longer-term leases, so we as their landlord aren't, you know, whipping people around and, you know, changing political whims. These people's future is, you know, vastly back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Alderperson Bezak.
I'll just jump in. I agree with the $20 rate as it stands now. If someone's going to make a motion to change that, so be it. I'll probably go along with it, but I do want to say I agree with Councilperson Munz's approach that we look at it for next year in regards to, if we need to change that, because she had a very good, valid point in the struggles that everybody had to endure this year as a business community. And as I said in the past, I don't want to keep moving the goalposts on them. We've got a plan. We should put it in action and then deal with it again next year if we need to tweak it.
Alderperson Munz.
Yeah, I just want to echo that I don't love the idea of doing one 100-day approval and then leaving the businesses not sure what's going to happen for the second 100 days. I don't feel like that's very good for them for planning, for budgeting, and it doesn't sit well with me for how to lead them as far as what they're going to be for the rest of the season.
Derek, do you want to speak to that before we go forward, and then I'll come back to you?
Yeah, that would be kind of complicated in that particular businesses probably want to know what that price is. And, we would probably approve it, and it would be up for rent, and then before you do it, it would already come to the free for a new price.
So, go ahead.
Well, hang on a second. Alderperson Michelle.
No, I mean, pardon me, I agree. I think keeping things simple right now is the key. Ryan had his thoughts on, I don't know, what do you want to call it, like primo seating versus non-primo seating idea? Okay. Like you pay less for your dumpster, is that what you're talking about? I mean, I'm not envious of you having to calculate that if we decide to move forward with that, but anyway, long story short, and I agree also with Steve too. I think it's got to be fair, of course, market rate. But for this year, let's just keep it simple and move forward. So.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, just $20 a seat.
I agree, let's keep it simple for the whole 200-day period and not be jerking up and down. We need some traction to see what is it going to look like going forward. Because obviously, with everybody's agreement here, this is a long-term thing we're getting into, and we got to test the water, see how it's going to work. And I'm sure that the business owners would agree that get me set for this year, what does next year bring, and see how we react to it. So that's my thought.
I do have a question though. If we must adhere to 100-day leases, so I mean we could put together policies, but I mean we would go lease by lease, or how would that work with us saying, and I'm not even talking about just us, but as far as keeping, because somebody would be out of lease in 100 days, so it would be kind of a trust situation.
Yeah, and we actually, usually, we approve the
permit. 100-day permit, because we're not, okay. All right, we'll get our municipal language down.
I'd like to make a motion to approve
Second.
Are we
the
approving?
$20 per seat.
Okay, I've got a motion from Alderperson Munz and,
I think actually Ryan got it.
and a second by Alderperson Bonner. Could you call the roll, please?
Petrilla.
Yes.
Wirball.
Yes.
Bespin.
Yep.
Weber.
Yes.
Kulkaitis.
Yes.
Folk.
Yes.
Bongard.
Yes.
Munz.
Yes.
Gem.
Yes.
That passes. So we're finished with item 4, our business. Moving on to public comments. Please approach and state your name for the record, stranger.
County Anderson, going forward, St. Charles. Since I'm here, I'm going to make a comment. Outdoor dining, talked about having tables available at the plaza. Kind of like if it said we want to have a coffee from 3 coffee shops we got within First Street, or 2 ice cream shops, and you got a family down there, and you don't want to sit in a nice altar brewing, you want to have a family thing outside. Where are the seats going to be? Who provides them? Public property. And I don't know if people would answer with that, but I assume it's in the plan somewhere. And I would probably come there, or try to come there on my bicycle. So then, and my grandkids, where are the bike racks going to be? Whose department is that? Peter, is that you, or is it somebody else? Anyway, I'm going to propose it to all of you that if you got a plaza, thing with a park district, you got a park, where is the public going to do something without a high-end nice dining experience? I compliment you on the chairs that are on the lawn behind here, that have been here on a permanent basis, and the nice spot to see a sunset is sitting right there. Sure. And you can just come and sit and leave, you go, or you bring your lunch from across the street you're sitting, right? So that's public property, that's what you guys are about, make it friendly for us. So, the outdoor dining at First Street and over at, Duke's and everything on the east side, I think St. Charles has got a very viable business, get the pandemic over with. So, complimentary to, doing all that. And the other comment I'll end with is the same what I said last time. You're sick.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, sir.
If you want me to come more often, maybe you don't. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more comments from the public? Come on up, there. Just stand for the record, please.
I just had a question, kind of like, when we talk about public space, what do we define as public space? So like, we're talking about potentially putting tables in, and that's fine. I saw them out there, the past couple of years, didn't see much use out of them, we're staring at that stuff every day. But when, like, to his point, exactly, his public space is bike ride. Somebody else might be eating sandwiches and smitties, making a table. Somebody else is sitting down for coffee or ice cream, just need a bench. Then even like the Christie, like a market or put any of that there. Does that impede the public space now? When we're doing events in the public space, if somebody's riding a bike now, that's impeding them, or the tables we put out there is that impeding the families that are walking around. I'm kind of just a little confused to a certain extent of what does the public space mean as far as what do we need it for, what do we want it for, like altogether, because it can't be everything. You can try, but it's just going to make tighter and tighter spaces. You make a bike lane, people can't walk on it, or you make a table, people, they kind of shuffle by it. So, to me, to have those things in place, whether it be in writing, let's put tables out there, let's not put tables out there, it'll make, it kind of clarifies a little bit of what that public space is meant for. So that's kind of the point I just wanted to make. I know there's a lot of bench seating all over, but I just don't know, I'm asking you guys if you have like an actual intention for that space and what it's for.
This period is just comment. I mean, you can follow up after this, but we just hold it. And so this period isn't really for back and forth. No, but it's a good comment, and it's well received. No, I appreciate it very much.
Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Start.
Okay, we'll go, is there any other public comment? Because after that, we'll come back up for comment. Okay, closing that. Seeing that, comment from the day? Brian?
Just to piggyback off of Mr. Anderson's comments, I think we should explore some public tables out in the plaza for residents and visitors to enjoy and make them comply with the design standards that we have in place, so they kind of blend in. I don't think we need a ton of them, but I think a few of them are worthy. You know, people want to be a part of that environment, and I think if we can put some of those out there, I think that's being inclusive of everybody in our community. So that's it.
So, Russ, how, you don't have to answer me now, but to Brian's point, when we had before we started the project and we had public space seating, how did that get decided of what went where and what the configuration was?
You're saying before the outdoor dining was set up? There were just a few of those round tables that were sort of placed around the plaza. They could be easily relocated because it was a smaller plaza and the space was being used for different functions. So it essentially shifted around.
Did we ever get complaints about there not being enough, or the configuration, or where they were located, or was it pretty much like?
No, I can't say I recall how heavily they were utilized, but I think it was a specific type of design of table, maybe that was not that compatible with the space. But I think now that we've seen more activity levels there, you know, it's an opportunity to look at perhaps a different design.
The other comment I was going to make too is that that is public space and would be controlled by the city as a whole, so we can monitor that space and adjust as necessary. That doesn't need to be included in anything with the ordinance. The ordinance was specifically about the permitting for the outdoor dining for the private businesses. So we have that opportunity and flexibility, can put things out and see how it goes and adjust as necessary throughout the season.
I just wanted to let the electeds know, I think everyone got messages, this is not about outdoor dining, I think everyone got messages from the boosters from St. Charles East about the Mental Health Matters session that's happening tomorrow at 6 o'clock at the Norris Center. I got a chance to see part of it today. There was one for the community members and parents. Tomorrow is for staff and students. They would love it if some electeds could come to this. The part of the presentation I got to see so far was great. It's about mental health awareness. It's really good to be there for the students to show that the city is involved in this, that we are supportive of mental health awareness, and the speaker is really great, Coach Mark Potter. So I just wanted to suggest that you come.
And then,
at 6 o'clock.
even though it's staff and teachers, they don't care?
No, they've asked for us to be there, so, and we can scatter ourselves around, so we're not breaking any rules about being too close to each other and any kind of Open Meetings Act issues.
Discussing topics on the agenda.
Right, so I just wanted to make sure I plugged that. It's a really worthy cause, so.
Awesome. Any other comments? Looking for a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, get that cheesecake. Oh, well, I actually gotta go talk to